Good morning. This is Mike Hull, and thank you everybody for coming this morning. Today's webinar will be on lean transformation at Rochester Gauges and how that's supported by Dynamics AX. Just go through some introductions real quickly here. We will be joined shortly by Bill Battershell, who's CFO of Rochester Gauges. I am on right now with Charlotte McCormick, and Charlotte is senior consultant here at eBECS, and she's essentially the eBECS Lean architect. So she's responsible not only to help deploy AX at customers, but she's also responsible for some of the functional build-outs that we have in terms of Lean extensions. And I'm General Manager for North America for eBECS, and Mike Hull. You can see my information there, by the way, and I will circle back with you within a week or so just to check on any interest that you may have in pursuing the conversation any further. And we could arrange a discovery as well as a very thorough demo of anything that you do specifically in terms of lean manufacturing. So the agenda for today will be that we'll have a very short AX and eBECS overview. We'll jump after that into the Rochester Gauges story. But what we'll be doing is we'll be having Bill tell a little bit of his story about Rochester Gauges, talking a little bit about some of the things that he's done. And Charlotte will jump into a demonstration of that material, or those issues, and then we'll do a Q&A. So what I'll do is I'll open the floor after Charlotte's demonstration, and if you have questions for either Bill or Charlotte at that point, you can ask them. And then what we'll do is we'll go back to Bill. He'll tell us a little bit more of the story. We'll do a little bit more demonstration, and then again, we'll have a little bit of Q&A at the end of that, and we'll have really basically 3 rounds of that, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. So that's that is our agenda. One thing that we do want to stress during this whole conversation, and this is the way we look at life, is that lean manufacturing process support in Dynamics AX does not cause lean transformation. You don't want to get that skewed at all. It doesn't create it. Really, the software comes along after the transformation takes place, after the manufacturing processes have changed to lean processes. And at that point, the question ends up being, does the ERP solution that you have really support those Kanban strategies, the planning, the scheduling, et cetera, that we're going to be talking about today? So the Dynamics AX product does not create transformation. It's really about 5% of the whole picture, but it's very important because the question is does your business system actually support the lean journey you're on? Because you really are betting the farm on that kind of thinking, and it would be very helpful if your ERP or business system actually did support that. I'll talk a little bit about Dynamics AX. We're not going to go through this, obviously. The graphic basically is there to show you that it's a very robust system. All of the commonly assumed areas of functionality that should be in an ERP solution are within Dynamics AX. I'm hoping that what you see here, kind of communicates that pretty clearly to you. What we'll be looking at today is strictly the lean process support that's inside of AX, and each of these little rectangles represent some functional component of AX that supports something very specific in lean manufacturing processes. We will not touch on every one of these rectangles today, so we're going to be touching on a minimal number of those. Like I mentioned to you before, what we will do is circle back with you, and if you'd like to go into any of these further, specific to what you're doing in your manufacturing world, we'll have a little discovery session with you to find out what that is, and we'll come back and show you just what your business needs to see. But point being on this graphic that we're going to show you a small portion of a very large build-out of functionality.
I've been with Rochester Gauges for about the last 2 years, and we're right in the process now of upgrading our AX software to go to the latest release, which is called AX 2012. And the reason that I'm in charge of this is I probably installed and implemented about every software system out there, SAP, Lawson, J.D. Edwards, all of them. But let me kind of tell you how Lean came into Rochester Gauges and who Rochester Gauges is. We are a manufacturing company. We make gauges. Those gauges go out to very large customers like Caterpillar and John Deere. They go to a variety of propane customers. We've been doing this for about the last 75 years. In about 2000, even the concept of lean was totally unknown to Rochester Gauges until about 2005, when Rochester Gauges hired a lean guru. His name was Brad Hoffman. And Brad Hoffman is the one that brought lean into Rochester Gauges. Brad started in about 2005. Shortly after he started, the company decided to get off of its old legacy software and transferred over and put in AX4. That installation of AX4, there was no thought of lean in that. Brad had just come here. The company didn't really know what lean was, so we just put in AX4 without any lean. After we installed that software, then we went through about 27 major Kaizen events out in the factory. So we totally reorganized our factory. We got done with, that took place over the course of a couple of years. And we got done with relaying about 80% of the factory out. Now, what you heard before is absolutely true. When we came to the point that we had a factory now that was running sort of on lean, but we had a software package that didn't support lean at all, and we're having a big problem trying to really support the lean process without the software installed. What we did, at the same time, we were faced with a competition that was coming in and was challenging our market share in one of our market segments. And the way they were challenging us is they could get their product to market in half the time that we could. So we decided we needed to do something different, and we needed the software help to do it. Back then, we decided to take an old software package from eBECS and install it and put it on that line where we were being challenged by our competitor. So that was about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, that we went through that process with eBECS. We brought our line up, and what we're going to talk about today is what happened when we brought that line up. But let me caution you again, what you heard in the beginning of this. You have to have lean installed in your factory, in your processes in your factory. Then bring the software up. If people think that they're going to become lean by just installing software, that will not work. You have to be a lean company. That does not mean that you have to have embraced all aspects of lean, but there are fundamental aspects that you need to embrace in order to let the software work. So we went out and we brought this eBECS software in with eBECS helping us and installed it. And then let's talk about what happened when we did that. What the basic problem that we were having was our business challenge from that customer. And we basically needed to cut our lead time from 8 weeks, which has been our lead time for the last 75 years, down to 4 weeks. And the reason that we took this eBECS software was to allow us to be able to do that. And the eBECS software allowed us to do several things that got us to this even under 4 weeks. One of the biggest things that it did is it allows our customer service representatives, when they take orders, to be able to see into the factory floor and see into the material availability. What used to happen before is the customer service would take an order, throw it over the wall to manufacturing. Sometime in the next 8 weeks, manufacturing would put that onto their schedule, go to manufacture it. Maybe they have the material, maybe they don't have the material, and so it was causing our on-time delivery to suffer because we would put it into the schedule shortly before it was due to be shipped, and we may not even have the material or the sub-assemblies in place in order to be able to ship that product. So the first big benefit that we got out of this product was the ability of customer service to see into the manufacturing process. Let me explain to you just a little bit, then I'll hand it over to Charlotte. What customer service does now compared to what it used to do before is it takes the order. It can then go out and look at the schedule and see two things. Do we have the material in place to build that order? And do we have this time slot in our schedule to build that order? What we did when we did this and realigned our factory to be able to support this was our lead times did drop from 8 weeks to 4 weeks. In truth, they dropped down to under 2 weeks. And I'll let Charlotte take you through there and explain to you how that works.
All right, great. Thanks, Bill. So what I'm going to show you is, you can kind of see it on the screen. I want to take you through the sales event Kanban process in AX 2012, which is part of what really drove customer service and production to fall together as one unit at Rochester. So we're going to go through entering an order in AX straight from the customer. I'm going to show you a couple options for calculating the available date based on capacity and material, just like Bill said. And then that's basically going to schedule both the top level and the bottom levels for production to produce against that customer date. So let's take a step into AX. Just make sure you guys can see AX. So this is Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012. What we're looking at here is the sales order screen. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add a line to a sales order. We're acting like a customer service rep. So as a customer service representative, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take a customer order. So we're going to order a part. We'll order 10 of them. And as soon as I save this line, AX can do a couple things. What you see here is it's telling me that the customer has requested that they would like to have their goods shipped on Thursday. AX is telling me no, that's not possible. The earliest I can give it to you is Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and update that confirm ship date. And there are a couple options to how you can calculate this available date. The first one that we've looked at is something called CTP in AX 2012. And at eBECS we've actually done a lot of work around the standard CTP in Microsoft. But the premise of it is we are using what's called an explosion to calculate if we have material, if we have enough material, if we don't have material, when we're going to get the material in, and then we're doing a capacity check to see if we've got the material, can we actually make it. So as soon as I've saved that line and it gave me an available date, what I've got, I'm going to take a look at the pegging tree, is I've got a Kanban actually scheduled on the assembly work cell to hit that date that the customer wants. And it's not only scheduled my final assembly cell, but in this scenario it's also scheduled my sub-assembly and any of the parts that I need pulled to order. And we'll go through this in some of the later scenarios. So this is great because just like Bill said, the first thing we're doing is we're connecting sales order entry to the shop floor directly. And by saving that line in this scenario, it has automatically planned that for a realistic date. So let's take a look at what we see in terms of capacity on that top level cell. So what you're looking at here is called the Kanban schedule board. And I'm looking at that assembly top cell, and what I can see is a couple things. First of all, Thursday, which is when the customer wanted originally to have their goods made and shipped, is completely full. We've consumed 300 drumbeat of 300 available for that work cell. But Friday is not full. And if you actually look here, we have scheduled our job onto the work cell for Friday. And if I take a look here, again, I have that view into the entire pegging tree. And the pegging tree just represents everything that has to do with that sales order. And if I wanted to take a look, again, as a planner, as the work cell supervisor, I can get straight back to that sales order. So we're driving manufacturing based on that sales order. So another way that Bill kind of alluded to that you can start to get a realistic date is to actually take a look at the schedule yourself. So we're going to go back into this sales order. And I'm going to order one more item. And we'll order 20 of that item. So when I save this line, we haven't scheduled, we haven't calculated a date at all. What the customer service rep could do is either talk to a planner, go directly to that schedule. So I'm going to go back to my Kanban schedule board for my top level assembly cell. And what you see here is a Kanban that's waiting to be planned for that sales order. And you can come and quickly see the slots you have available. So I can see I have a lot of space on Friday, and I could literally come and drag this sales order into Friday. And if I wanted to, I could schedule all the lower levels by planning the entire pegging tree around this date. One of the most powerful things is that we're connecting customer service. We're getting the customer delivery date correct up front. And what you'll see throughout as we go through this is we also get status updates to customer service as we start producing against these event Kanbans, because we're producing directly to a sales order. So what I'm going to do, Bill, is we're going to go ahead and hand it back over to you. And if we have questions at this point, feel free to ask Bill or myself any questions you've got.
While we're on this topic, I cannot emphasize enough the power that this gave our company. We used to expedite product. We had premium freight shipments. All of that is gone for the line that we brought up, because customer service can actually go back to a customer and give them a date that we can actually ship the product with high reliability that we could ship it. And customers call in that need a date sooner than even the 4 weeks that we quote. We're able to do that. And the result of this was our customers overwhelmingly came in and just loved what we were doing and can hardly wait until we can get our whole factory set up to where we could do this with all of our products. This is very, very powerful.